Are you ready to unlock a level of mental strength where no one can exploit your emotions or pull your strings ever again? Today's discussion will build such an impenetrable mental shield around you that you will stop viewing your sensitivity as a weakness and start weaponizing it as your greatest asset. It is a harsh law of nature that those who show fear are targeted the most. Anyone who reacts instantly to every minor situation becomes incredibly easy to control and manipulate. On the flip side, the person who stays calm amidst chaos and remains completely detached becomes utterly invincible. Today, I will share 10 proven psychological strategies to help you rebuild your personality into an unshakable, commanding presence. Did you know that when you achieve this level of mental discipline, no external force can destabilize you? You will forge an inner strength so absolute that no one will be able to disrupt your peace or toy with your feelings. History proves that the world's most influential leaders have always relied on these hidden laws to ensure their judgment remains unclouded during critical moments. If you closely observe any exceptionally self-reliant individual, you will notice an air of absolute calm. It is as if external validation simply does not exist for them. This exact stillness commands respect and forces others to think twice before crossing their boundaries. Before we begin this self-mastery journey, remember this brief warning. Watch this guide until the very end, because incomplete knowledge is always dangerous. Pay close attention to rules 9 and 10, as they will completely transform your perspective. Number 1. Break the chains of attachment. To build true mental fortitude, you must first identify the connections where you are over-investing emotionally. There are likely several relationships or networks in your life that drain your time and energy without offering any real value, personal growth, or progress in return. Remember that in a practical world, people naturally connect based on incentives or mutual alignment, whether it is family, friends, or social circles. Everyone expects something from you. Therefore, look closely at the relationships where you are the only one making a one-sided effort, leaving you emotionally depleted. A mentally resilient person never relies on others so heavily that they lose their own identity and power. Start distancing yourself from toxic connections that exploit your feelings and disrupt your mental peace. If your life is constantly flooded with unnecessary drama, achieving true self-control becomes impossible. Weak relationships will always siphon off your inner strength. Instead of letting them leave you exhausted and weak day after day, analyze where your mental energy is actually going. Assess who you are dedicating your emotions to and evaluate with a clear mind whether those connections are genuinely meaningful or purely transactional. Number 2. Eliminate reactive behavior. Anyone who treats you poorly or drags you into pointless arguments is simply craving one thing: your reaction. Your immediate emotional response is their ultimate victory and your biggest defeat. When you break down, lose your temper, or engage in instant conflict over minor provocations, you are openly exposing your vulnerabilities. A mature and calculated individual never lets others see that their bitter words or actions have had any impact. Instead, they behave as though the antagonist's behavior is completely irrelevant. What people do or think behind their back simply does not concern them. To become truly unshakable, you must put a definitive stop to impulsive reactions alongside mastering your feelings. Someone who remains quiet, still, and composed in the worst possible scenarios naturally projects an imposing presence that makes people hesitate to cross them. Exhibiting confidence when everything goes your way is easy. The real test of character happens when conditions are entirely against you. Keeping your composure and governing your responses at that difficult crossroads is the ultimate power you must master at all costs. Number 3. Apply the 3-second rule. Individuals who lack emotional discipline usually have zero gap between a stimulus and their response. The moment a challenging situation arises, they react without thinking, and this impulsiveness becomes their downfall. The most effective way to break this cycle is the 3-second control method. If someone insults you or tries to push your boundaries, do not answer immediately. Simply pause and embrace absolute silence for 3 seconds. Count slowly in your mind. 1, 2, 3. This brief window allows your overstimulated brain to cool down. The emotional storm that was about to hijack your judgment will suddenly freeze, allowing your mind to reset. From a scientific standpoint, emotions are nothing more than temporary chemical surges in your brain. When you step back and take a short 3-second pause, your system automatically begins balancing your stress hormones. The next time you face a heated argument, feel a surge of anger, or find yourself on the verge of making a rash decision, force yourself to stop. Count to 3 and recognize that your silence is your ultimate leverage. This simple habit keeps your emotions firmly within your grasp, ensuring you never make a weak or reckless move. Number 4. Master your internal dialogue. The way you speak to yourself in isolation and the perception you hold of your own worth dictate your entire psychological well-being. If you constantly tell yourself that you are a failure, that your life is falling apart, or that all your relationships are doomed, this negative self-talk directly erodes your self-esteem and leaves you hollow. Conversely, if you reframe your mindset and choose to see a setback not as a personal defeat but as an experiment where your method simply did not work, you empower yourself to try again with a fresh strategy. If a relationship fails, remind yourself that you are not inherently flawed. You simply made a poor choice in alignment. When you speak to yourself with respect and objectivity, your feelings align naturally under your control. Whatever you repeatedly tell yourself becomes anchored in your subconscious, and your mind and body will act accordingly. If you consistently project yourself as helpless, as if you have no say in your destiny, everything will eventually spiral out of your control. A mature individual never engages in self-sabotaging talk. They act as a steady guide to themselves, allowing the brain to look for constructive solutions even under heavy pressure. To change your reality, rebuild your self-image, stop underselling your potential, and trust your capabilities. This certainty is what allows you to stand firm before the world. Number 5. Adopt zero expectations. Why do you experience such deep emotional pain? Why do you find yourself grieving in isolation, unable to recover for weeks when someone walks away? All of these miseries stem from a single variable: your excessive expectations. You place far too much anticipation on others, and when they inevitably fail to meet those standards, your spirit breaks, leaving you feeling entirely abandoned. When you relinquish expectations, you become truly invincible. A self-sufficient, emotionally disciplined person places no reliance on external validation. They depend solely on their own efforts. The fewer expectations you hold of the world, the higher your psychological resilience will be. No one will be able to inflict a deep emotional wound on you, and you will never fall into self-doubt because you are already complete on your own. Wise individuals interact with everyone and maintain courtesy, but they never hand over the keys to their happiness to anyone else. The higher your expectations, the more complicated and agonizing your life becomes, making your mood dependent on the whims of others. An unshakable mind remains entirely realistic, expecting no unprompted favors, which completely shields them from betrayal and disappointment. Number 6. Refuse to take things personally. An overly emotional person treats every passing comment as a direct attack on their character, spending days agonizing over random criticism. On the other hand, a mentally fortified individual never links the projection of others to their own self-worth. They are so anchored in their identity that external critique cannot destabilize them. They simply do not care about the opinions or backbiting of critics. Your emotions only spin out of control when you allow every piece of external noise to penetrate your ego. Accept the reality that not everything in this life can be controlled. You must master the art of deliberate selective ignorance. Not everyone will act according to your values, and circumstances will not always be favorable. A truly intelligent person knows exactly what information to filter out as garbage. Once you learn to overlook trivial behavior and stop taking things to heart, you retain full ownership of your emotional remote control. Manipulative people only target those who visibly react to minor provocations and display their weaknesses openly. Number 7. Evaluate before deciding. If you struggle with emotional vulnerability and frequently make impulsive choices under pressure that you later regret, it is usually because you are operating under external compliance. When someone demands an immediate favor or decision, you struggle to say no and agree instantly. However, psychology suggests that you must pause, evaluate the situation thoroughly, and buy yourself time. Never let someone else's artificial urgency dictate a major decision in your life. Learn to respond firmly and politely by saying, "I will consider this and get back to you later." When you evaluate options with a cool head after some time has passed, your choice will be entirely rational. The world is full of opportunistic people who deliberately force quick decisions to catch you off guard. A strategic thinker always hits the pause button, stating they will provide an answer tomorrow. This simple boundary places the trajectory of your life squarely back in your hands. When you routinely request time to think, you become incredibly difficult to manipulate, and no one can rush you into a bad deal for their own benefit. Number 8. Choose your battles strategically. If you jump into every minor argument and street-level dispute, you will completely deplete your vital energy and ruin your mental peace. Before engaging with anyone or reacting to a provocation, ask yourself if a response is truly worth your time. We routinely waste immense cognitive energy on trivial friction that has absolutely zero impact on our long-term future. We allow ourselves to get anxious over issues that do not matter. A mentally strong individual is someone who walks away from conflicts where their time and dignity are undervalued. Realizing what to walk away from is far more important than deciding what to pursue. If you argue with every critic, you will never develop emotional maturity. The definitive hallmark of an intelligent mind is knowing where to remain silent, whom to completely ignore, and exactly where to invest your focus. Powerful individuals do not waste time trying to prove themselves right to closed minds. They remain silent and keep moving toward their goals. Number 9. Become as unyielding as stone. If you insult a stone on the side of the road, does it alter its shape or composition? Even if you strike it, it remains completely unmoved. Why? Because it is inherently solid, meaning the force attempting to damage it usually ends up hurting itself. If you want to achieve true emotional immunity, keep this analogy anchored in your mind. In every adverse situation, transform your mindset into a fortress. Let people spread rumors or use harsh words. Your core must remain entirely unaffected. A solid rock does not shatter under impact. Instead, the tools of the attacker wear out. Raise your personal standards so high that those who try to bring you down end up frustrated by their own insignificance, while your peace remains entirely undisturbed. This unyielding attitude is what sets you apart from the crowd as a formidable presence. A resilient thinker is someone who stands completely stable, continuing their execution regardless of the weather around them. Number 10. Operate through a logical framework. There will be many crossroads in your life where you feel compelled to make major choices based entirely on how you feel in the moment. However, always remember that sustainable success requires you to set your immediate feelings aside and analyze the situation through pure logic and data. Very often, decisions made during high emotional states, whether extreme anger or extreme excitement, lead to consequences we have to endure for a lifetime. Emotions urge you to act on immediate gratification, whereas a logical evaluation forces you to look at the long-term risk and reward. An unshakable mind never lets a temporary feeling dictate a permanent life direction. It tests every option against practical reality. If you implement these 10 psychological rules, you will make your mind entirely bulletproof against manipulation and disrespect. You will elevate your self-worth to a level where no one can exploit you. If you have followed this breakdown to the very end, let us know in the comment section where you're watching this from, along with your name and city, so we can acknowledge your dedication to growth. If you found value in this discussion, give this video a like, subscribe right now, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our upcoming life-changing insights. Thank you for investing your time with us.